Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswate Namaha. Radhe Radhe. Pranam. Today we are going to talk about Śaṅkara Jayanti. And to talk about that, we are going to invite the learned scholar who lives in Seattle and my close friend Sri Śaṅkara. आज हम आदि शंकराचार्य जयंती के बारे में बात करने वाले हैं, जिसको हम शंकराचार्य जयंती के नाम से भी जानते हैं, और उसके साथ और उसको हमने डिस्कस करने के लिए हमने जाने माने और मेरे घनिष्ठ मित्र श्री ईश्वर त्यागराजन को बुलाया है, जो सियाटल में रहते हैं. श्री सो लेट मी इनवाइट हिम फर्स्ट. So he is my friend Ishwar Tyagarajan. Let me introduce him. Sri Ishwar Tyagarajan, son of Srimati Lalita and Sri Tyagarajan Sundaram, has been a dedicated student of Vedanta, Itihas, Puranas, and commentatorial tradition for over 25 years. And I can assure you that, guarantee that, because we had many discussions. I had many discussions with him, online and offline many times. He has been blessed with the association of Sri Ramchandra Mutt, the Vedanta Society of Western Washington, Seattle, and has studied Vedanta as a Shrota under guidance of Pujya Sri Swami Bhaskaranandaji. He has been conducting informal yet focused satsangs in Greater Seattle area for past few years, sharing the spirit of sincere study and contemplation. Sri Ishwar Tyagarajan श्रीमती ललिता और श्री त्यागराजन सुंदरम के पुत्र हैं. पिछले 25 वर्षों से वे वेदांत, इतिहास, पुराणों और व्याख्या परंपरा के समर्पित छात्र रहे हैं, और वह मेरे घनिष्ठ मित्र हैं. और इसी के ऊपर मेरी उनके काफी बार चर्चा भी हुई है सियाटल में और ऑनलाइन, और आप हमारे पिछले वीडियो भी देख सकते हैं. श्री ईश्वर त्यागराजन जी ने श्री रामकृष्ण मठ, वेदांता सोसाइटी ऑफ वेस्टर्न वॉशिंगटन, सियाटल के साथ जुड़ने का आशीर्वाद प्राप्त हुआ है, और उन्होंने पूज्य संत श्री स्वामी भास्करानंद जी के मार्गदर्शन में वेदांत का अध्ययन किया है. यह श्री ईश्वर त्यागराजन जी पिछले कुछ वर्षों से सियाटल क्षेत्र में अनौपचारिक लेकिन केंद्रित सत्संग आयोजित कर रहे हैं. मतलब उसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि चलो सब लोग आ जाओ. जो जिसको इंटरेस्ट है वही फोकस ग्रुप जो होता है ना, जो अलग अलग एरिया में, उनको ही वो के साथ में बात करके, और जिसके अंदर वह आध्यात्मिक मनन एवं चिंतन की भावना को साझा करते हैं. सो इसके साथ में श्री ईश्वर त्यागराजन जी को मैं प्रणाम करता हूँ. ईश्वर जी प्रणाम.
नमस्ते महेश जी.
जुड़ने का हमें धन्यवाद. हमें काफी सौभाग्य प्राप्त हुआ है, इसके लिए हम आपको धन्यवाद करते हैं.
अहोभाग्य महेश जी, अहोभाग्य. Thank you very much, Mahesh ji. I know Mahesh ji, like he's my elder brother. We know each other for such a long time, and over years, Mahesh ji, we have been discussing about Bhagavad Pada, the impact of Bhagavad Pada on our tradition. But right now, Mahesh ji, before we get into the discussion, I want to spend at least a couple of minutes reflecting on the great tragedy that that we have been subjected to in Pahalgam, in Kashmir, where innocent people were killed by terrorists. So I thought, sometimes what can we do, right? It's so heavy on our heart. But I thought we'll start thinking about a couple of Gita shlokas and then use that as a segue to get into our samvadam. Om Nainam Chindanti Shastrani Nainam Dahati Pavakaha Nachainam Kledayantyapyo Nashoshayati Marutaha Avyaktoyam Achintyoyam Avikaroyam Uchyate Tasmad Enam Viditva Enam Nanushoshicham Arhasi. The thing is, Mahesh, I picked these two slokams because these two slokams show that the Atma Padartham, the Shuddha Chit Padartham, is not affected by all the impact of Prakriti that can happen on us. So we have to go back to our roots in the Vaidika Sampradaya or Vedanta Sampradaya, Mahesh, as we know, and our audience also knows, it is based on the primacy of consciousness. We are not a Dehabhimana Sampradaya. We are, ours is Brahma Abhimana, our Swaswarupaha, which is Sakshat Parameshwara. It is in Parameshwara that we trust. That is the Adhishtanam on which our life is there. It is this fundamental Adhishtana Satyam, the substratum, the truth on which we are relying upon, that has been the source of our civilization strength. Because this problem that is happening in Kashmir right now, or has been happening for the past few decades, actually been happening for more than several centuries ago also. But the civilization has been able to resist it and still try to survive and thrive. That is by being connected to our roots, right? So today, when we are celebrating Sri Śaṅkara Jayanti, what are we really celebrating? Because if you look at Swami's pravachanam, I have written some of the slokas. I have put it in my monitor here. Na bhumir, na toyam, na tejo, na vayuh, na kam nendriyam, va na tesham samuhaha. Then he says, na mata, na pita, na deva, na lokaha, na veda, na yajñah, na tirtam bruvantihi. Sushuptau nirastati shunyatmakatva tadeko vasishtah shiva kevalo. He says, that truth which cannot be denied whatsoever, which is self-evident in Shushupti Avastha, in deep sleep, to that which alone remains after everything else is negated. The thing that can never be negated by itself. We can negate things that are not us, right, Mahesh? We can say, na iti, na iti, na iti, not this, not this, not this. But the Pravakta, whose Sakshi Chaitanyam, who can negate it? It is that Sakshi Chaitanyam, Tadeko Vasishta Shiva Kevalam. That is my Swaswarupam. That is my real nature. The infinite is my real nature. It is with this Bhavam Bhagavad Pada is speaking. But we are celebrating Śaṅkara Jayanti, almost implying that he is born on some date, right? So if you take for those, everybody must be knowing it, but for the sake of formality, I will briefly introduce the one who needs no introduction. Bhagavad Pada, as we know, was born several centuries ago. I mean, there is a little bit of Matabedam where some people say he was born in 8th century of this era. Some say no, he was born way back. But Bhagavad Pada himself said, I was never born. So ideally, Swami was born in Kaladi, in the Kerala Desha. And then he traveled across as a Parivrajaka Sannyasa. He took his Sannyasa Diksha with Govinda Bhagavad Pada. Govinda Bhagavad Pada's guru is Gaudapada Acharya. So Gaudapada Acharya, Govinda Bhagavad Pada, Shankaracharya. They are all like paragons of Advaita. But if you trace the Advaita Sampradaya, it's Narayanam, Padmabhuvam, Vashishtam, Shaktim, Tatputra, Parasaram, Vyasam, Shukam, Gaudapadam, Mahantam. That's how it comes to Narayana from Sadashiva Samarambam, Vyasa Shankara Madhyamam, Asmadacharya Paryandam, Vande
Guru Paramparam.
So even against the backdrop of the tragedy in Pahalgam, the thing we have to keep in mind is we as individuals or group of individuals we call community or group of several such like-minded communities, which is our civilizational Aindava Matam, that larger Sanatana Dharma, our survival and how we thrive in life, our protection, our raksha, our inspiration is all drawn by being connected to our roots. And whenever these roots are being shaken, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata apyudhanam dharmasya tadatmanam srijami. Then Bhagavan comes again and again. Whenever there's a glani to dharma, Bhagavan comes and protects us, right? Similarly, there's a shloka on Adi Shankaracharya by Vidyaranya Muni, Jagat Guru Sri Vidyaranya from Sringeri. Shloka says, Ajnanantar Gahanapatitan Atma Vidyopateshai Tratum Lokan Babadavashika Tapa Papachamanan Mukta Maunam Vatavitapinor Mulato Nishpatanti Shambhor Murti Charati Bhuvane Shankaracharya Rupa. He says that Dakshina Murti who sat near the Vatavirksham for the sake of giving Atma Vidya Upadesham to people and lift them out of darkness or Andakaram, Agyan Andakaram, he renounced Muktva Maunam. Whatever Maunam he had under the Vatavriksham, he renounced that Maunam and he has come Charati Bhuvane, Shambhor Charati Bhuvane Shankaracharya. He has used present tense, Maheshji, in the Slokam. Slokam is composed in 13th century. That itself is several centuries after Bhagavad Pada walked on this earth. But he has used present tense to say Shankaracharya is still walking amongst us. That Parameshwara is walking. So question is, how is he walking amongst us? In the form of the Pidadipatis of Sringeri, Puri, Kanchi, all that. Also through his Vachanam, through his Bhashyam, through his Strotram, through his Prakarana Grantham. All the Vachanams of Bhagavad Pada. By contemplating on it, even today, Bhagavad Pada is also there in our conversations. Not just Maheshji and me and the few others who are listening to this. Bhagavad Pada is also present here in this conversation. It is because of him our civilizational values are still alive. And it is in this gratitude, it is for this gratitude we are actually celebrating Śaṅkara Jayanti. The whole point of Śaṅkara Jayanti is to remember that without Mahaniyas like Bhagavan Vyasa, Bhagavan Krishna, Bhagavan Bhashyakara, here in this case,
What is Bhashyakara? We know what is Bhashyam, we both know and many scholars know. But for the benefit of those who know only, like we have Bhagavad Gita, Vedas, Puranas and all. So we want to can you enlighten those people who do not know what is Bhashyam?
Yes. So before saying about Bhashyam, we should talk about Sutram. See, generally, because the definition of Bhashyam presupposes the definition of Sutram. So when we say Sutram, in English we will say aphorisms, like Yoga Sutra, which is like small aphorisms, Ata Yoga Anushasanam. Then we have Brahma Sutra, Ata Ato Brahma Jignasa. It starts like that. Dharma Sutras are also, Ata Ato Dharma Jignasa. Jaimini Sutras are there. So here idea is Alpaksharam, Asandigdam, Saravat, Vishwato Mukham. Alpaksharam, very, very small collection of letters. Asandigdam, which are very clear, there is unambiguous. Saravat, Vishwato Mukham. In essence, they are all encompassing. So Maharishis, what they have done in every darshana, whether it is Sankhya Darshana, Yoga Darshana, Nyaya Vaisheshika Darshana, Karma Kanda, Purva Mimamsa Darshana, or Vedanta Darshana, in all these darshanas, great rishis are there. Like Sankhya Darshana for Kapila Muni, Yoga Darshana, Patanjali Muni, Nyaya Vaisheshika, Kannada Gautama, then Jaimini Sutra and Badarayana or Bhagavan Vyasa. Everybody has written in very, very small formulaic capsules the saram of their particular darshanam or their philosophy. This is the sutram. Now, what Bhashyam does is sutrartho varnyarte yatra vyakyehi sutranusaribihi. So, taking the sutram according to the intent of the sutrakara, like knowing Bhagavan Vyasa's Hridayam, capturing the Hridayam of Bhagavan Vyasa, taking his sutras, and then writing a commentary, a detailed exposition of it, without diluting the content or the intent of the Sutrakara, the tradition is actually maintained. So Bhashyam is basically a commentary. It's a commentary that is in line with the tradition. See, nowadays it has become a fashion to write a commentary according to their own interests, whatever they feel like writing. But Bhagavan Bhashyakara, as we call Adi Shankara Bhagatpada, he was so careful that he will write a commentary in such a way that he will do samanvaya, which means he will reconcile reasoning, scriptural evidence, anecdotal evidence, and he will use other forms of pramana, other forms of epistemological means, with which we can get clarity on tattva. See, the thing is, Mahesh, if somebody says, I want to go to a guru and learn Bhagavad Gita, after going to the guru and learning Bhagavad Gita from the guru, when leaving the guru's sannidhi or that premise and going back to their life, there should be no doubt, none whatsoever in the person's mind. They should become kritakritya. So the purpose of the guru is to teach in such a way that doubt is completely uprooted in the Shishya. That is only possible if the teacher is coming from the correct tradition and imparting the student the correct traditional method of reasoning. Sampradaya Anukula Yukti, it is called. So Bhagavan Bhashyakara uses and gives us the Sampradaya Anukula Yukti. He explains the Sampradaya Anukula Yukti in the Bhashyam. So this is commentary. And he is called Bhagavan Bhashyakara because of some reasons we'll talk about this. And we'll talk about Gita Bhashyam briefly today. So I will talk about why in our tradition we look upon him as Bhagavan Bhashyakara. It is not just a Upacharika Vishyam. It's not out of just respect we call him Bhagavan. Only a person who is Bhagavan could have explained what Bhagavan Vyasa said, what Bhagavan Krishna said. Then somebody explains it consistent with this should know the Hridayam of Vyasa. So it is also Bhagavan who has come as the Bhashyakara. So it is
And
that
also
respect.
what Vyasa had said previously, citing that, like giving all the evidence of what Vyasa has said in other places, right? So with that references,
Yes,
it is
like for
like
example
something
in
like we
Gita
get a
Bhashyam,
customer requirements, right? And we have a systems engineer who expand on it because they know what customer really wants. So expand those requirements, gives the engineer the detailed requirement, something that style, right? So for those people who do not understand what is Bhashyam in the
and also
layman's language.
Maheshji, let's say if somebody wrote a commentary on something, somebody wrote a manual on something. Let's say we have manuals, right? We buy some product, we get manuals. The purpose of the manual should be, it should be completely self-contained. I open the manual, I close the manual, I understand what's going on, right? I mean, in a very, very layman, laukika sense, I am saying this. But in a spiritual sense, what happens is our life is plagued by doubt. Doubt is there in every nook and corner. And when we say doubt, I mean doubt about what is Jiva, what is Ishvara, what is Jagat, what is the purpose of life, who am I? Now, when Bhagavan Bhashyakara explains this with the Pramāṇa of Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita and Brahma Sutra and everything in the tradition, he's making sure that this big Ashura, Rakshasa called doubt, is completely destroyed. Right? And that is the clarity, and that is the tripti we get when we go to the traditional teacher. So you're right, actually. And also the test of truth. That is another thing, because we are modern engineering people, right? Bhagavad Pada's language in many ways is very, very modern. Adi Shankara Bhagavad Pada says the test of truth is non-contradictability. If a pramana reveals pramana, I will say briefly what is pramana. I'll explain what the word pramana means. Say my eye is a pramana, means means of knowledge. Through the eye, what I know is prama, which is non-contradictable knowledge. And who am I? I am Pramatra. I am the one who is knowing. So when Bhagavad Pada says Upanishad is Pramanam, he's saying just like I is a means of knowledge, Upanishad is a means of knowledge. Now let's think about that also briefly. Ear, let's say, is a Pramana, which means what ear can show us, the eye cannot contradict. Because it's a different field, it's a completely different domain. Now, when Upanishad becomes a Pramana, what the Upanishad reveals, it cannot be known through any other means. Right? Just like eye and ear, they have different domains. Upanishad has its domain. What is Upanishad's domain? It is Alaukika Vidya, Paravidya. Paravidya Aksharamidi Gamyate. So, whatever the Upanishad reveals about Brahman, Atma, Swarupam, Brahma Jiva, Aikya Bhavam, all of these things can only be known through Upanishad. So, when we start recognizing and accepting Upanishad as in Brahma Vidya as the Pramana to know Brahman, then we develop something called Pramāṇika Buddhi. It is also called Śraddhā. So in Vivekachudamani, Bhagavad Pada says, Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhi Avadaranam. Through Shastram and Guru, who's in the Shastra Sampradaya, Satya Buddhi Avadaranam, the clarity with respect to what is truth, dawns on the sadhaka. That is Śraddhā. It's a very, very special word, Maheshji. I think you and I, we have talked in the past about the difference between Vishwasam and Śraddhā. Right? If you remember, some time back, we had this very interesting conversation because many people think Vishwasam is Śraddhā. Nothing wrong in it, but to be more precise in the usage of words, Vishwasam is based on the idea of love that everybody is endowed with. We naturally are loving people, everybody. Right? Love is within Atma Swarupam itself is Prema, Asti, Bhati, Priyam. That's the Lakshanam of the Swarupam, Atma Swarupam. But what happens with that is we sometimes love our body, we love our wealth, we show love towards everything. Sometimes we show love towards some people and they don't even respond in love. But what Śraddhā basically says is it takes this capacity for Vishwasam and does refinement to it with Shastram and Guru's Anugraham. And suddenly this Vishwasam gets elevated to a level where you develop Pramāṇika Buddhi on the infinite reality, and epistemically, you know without doubt what your essential Swarupam is. So that is why in Gita Acharya says in Bhagavad Gita, Śraddhāvān labate jnanam. Right? So in many sense, not to sadhanavan. Sadhana is important to develop Śraddhā, but it is through Śraddhā with Pramāṇika Buddhi we recognize Brahman as what it really is. And Maheshji, whatever I have said in English right now, none of this is my original thought. It is all a bhiksha that we have all received from our sampradaya, like Bhagavan Vyasa, Krishna, and Bhagavad Pada, Adi Shankara Bhagavad Pada. So just to talk about Śraddhā is the main purpose of the satsanga. The whole purpose of Śaṅkara Jayanti, Ramanuja Jayanti.
Who impart us the knowledge.
Yes.
Who impart us the Adi Shankara's knowledge.
Yes.
So tell me about it, Swamiji's journey to Badrikashrama and authorship of Bhashya of Gita, Upanishad and Brahma Sutra, because anybody to claim to be an Acharya, like they have to have a written Bhashyam of Gita, Upanishad and Brahma Sutra, then only it can reach to that level of Bhagwan, what we call as Acharya, who can establish their own matham. not ordinary man who just meditates in. I mean, they can do it, but to proclaim as they need to have this thing done. So, can you tell me about the journey to as a Bhashyakara?
Yes. So it's very interesting, Mahesh, you ask this because that is where near Badrikashrama, near Naimisharanya is where Bhagavad Pada wrote the Bhashyams. So in the
By
journey,
the way, do you know where Naimisharanya is? Near Lucknow, there is a city called Naimisar. So that is the old name is Naimisharanya, but now it is the city. It's a small town.
Okay. Yes. So in Bhagavad Pada's life, after Bhagavad Pada takes sannyasam from Govinda Bhagavad Pada, which is like he's hardly 8 years old that time, near Narmada
Close
Nadi.
to Narmada River, right?
Close
Close to
Narmada, yes.
Narmada River.
Narmada River.
Even
And
today,
then,
if you see Narmada Parikrama videos, you will see the Adi Shankara's, that place where he meditated.
That was found by Kanchi Paramācharya. Kanchi Paramācharya in his meditation identified that location. And that is how we have recognized that to be the location of Govinda Bhagavad Pada, who used to be there in that cave near there. So after Bhagavad Pada, actually Bhagavad Pada receives sannyasa in near Kaladi itself. If you remember, the crocodile comes and catches Tatkal sannyasa. Sannyasa Swikaranam has happened.
Yeah.
But that receiving the namam from the Guru and the Diksha Vastram and that whole prakriya, Vaidika prakriya, is actually done in the Sanidhyam of Govinda Bhagavad Pada. It happens there. Then Govinda Bhagavad Pada, his Guru also emphasizes that this Vedanta Darshana has to be, Punaruddharanam has to be done. We have to revamp because it is there. It's an ancient tradition. But due to several reasons in those times, see, we talked about Pramāṇa, right, Maheshji? So we'll briefly talk about that. Let's say if we accept, Maheshji, I will tell it in a very, very algorithmic way.
Sure.
Yeah, and
most of our viewers are engineers,
Yes,
they know algorithms.
So let's take the first instance. If somebody accepts Upanishad as a Pramāṇa, just like I accept I as a Pramāṇa, Upanishad as the I through which we attain the highest truth. So when we think like that, let's call them Shraddhalu, Uttama Shraddha. They are the people with highest Shraddha. We will call them as people of the tradition, Sampradaya. We're in the Sampradaya. But then there are some within the Sampradaya who think all this is good, but this is just a textbook. So by reading a textbook, we only get indirect knowledge. We don't get direct knowledge. So they are viewing Upanishad as a book. Whereas Bhagavad Pada is very, very clear that Upanishad, in Kathopanishad Bhashyam introduction, he says Upa means Samipe,
that is
nearby.
My favorite one. Kathopanishad is my favorite one.
Yes. Swami Vivekananda also used to loves Kathopanishad. So Upa means Samipe, Nishidati, Sad means Visaranagati Avasadanam, that in the proximity of which the Ajnana Avasadanam, the loosening of the grip of ignorance takes place. That is called Upanishad. So primarily Upanishad means that Brahma Vidya teaching, that Alaukika Paravidya teaching, which comes from a guru into a Shishya's heart. And with this, Shishya recognizes his infinite Swaswarupam. That is the primary meaning. But when this teaching is revealed in the form of a mantra, and the mantra is captured through oral tradition or in the form of a book, then the book, in a secondary sense, is called Upanishad. See, normally when I say I'm reading Upanishad, most people they mean the book, or I'm chanting Upanishad, they mean the mantra. But primary meaning is the vidya that is contained in the mantra. So mantra is the vehicle for the vidya, and the person who feeds us the tatparyam of the mantra is the guru, and he feeds us according to the sampradaya. So this is the idea. So let's say in the first step, like algorithm sense, people who have that Upanishad, this Pramāṇam, it is necessary and sufficient. People who say that they are in the tradition, that is like Bhagavad Pada. Then some people say it is necessary but not sufficient. So then immediately what happens? They need to add something else on top of the Brahma Vidya to attain completion in life. So they will invoke some other sadhana, they will invoke yoga prakriya, they will invoke something else. But when people start doing that, slowly what happens is the Pramāṇika Buddhi is getting diluted with respect to Brahma Vidya. Then there are some other people. Now comes the third category who are saying it is okay, but there are other methods. See, in the second category, if you see, they said it is necessary but not. Third category, they are saying it's not even necessary. There are other methods. But this is also a valid method. Then what happens? They again go to the fringe little bit. Then there are some people who says, I don't accept Vedam at all. I don't accept that Pramāṇam at all. I will meditate independently. I will independently figure out everything. They go. So thus, such people were called Nastika Madas. So if you look at our Darshanika Sampradaya, Sankhya, Yoga, Vaisheshika, Nyaya, Mimamsa, they are all Astika Madas because they all accept Vedam as a Pramāṇam. The degree to which they accept, they may have a debate between it. But at least they all accept that Vedam is a Pramāṇam. Whereas if you come to Bauddha Mata, Jaina Mata, or Charvaka Mata, or any of the modern religions, you see, technically from our tradition, we should call them Nastika Madas because they don't accept Veda Pramāṇa. That is one thing. Again, when I say Pramāṇa, I don't mean blind belief. What we are saying by Pramāṇa is, if you understand what is it that it is revealing, it opens itself to inquiry, it opens itself to verification. So, but unless you accept it as the means of knowledge, the question of verifying it or experiencing it does not even arise. So, in that sense, we are all Astika Madas with respect to Vedam. In Sankhya Siddhanta, for example, which is considered Astika Darshana, it is Nirishwara Vada Pratipadana. They don't accept Ishvara. They accept Purusha, Prakriti, like that they talk. But they are still called Astikas because they accept Veda Pramāṇa, which is very beautiful. Now, Bhagavad Pada, again, coming back to the
what we are
story.
talking about, is it related to the two paths called Pravritti and Nivritti? Are we talking
Not,
about that?
not yet. I'll come to that. It is related to it, but I'll come to it in a moment, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So when Swami starts going to Kashi, then he encounters that whole Chandala episode happens when Parameshwara himself comes there, right? Manisha Panchakam and all that. Then Parameshwara gives the Agnya that time has come for you to write the Bhashyam, so that you have to bring all these people we discussed, right, Maheshji, who have slowly drifted away from the Pramāṇika Buddhi. The purpose of the Bhashyam, establishing of the tradition, the commentatorial tradition, Vedanta Sampradaya, all of this purpose is to develop Pramāṇika Buddhi in everybody, is to bring people into the fold. Like you said, no, just somebody can't read a book, write a commentary, or sit and do meditation. They can't establish tradition. They have to know what the tradition is. And with that, with the Pramāṇa and with that authority, and having known Mimamsa, Tarka, Vyakarana, all the aspects in every whole holistic aspect, and knowing, walking the length and breadth of the country and knowing what is it that people are really suffering from, knowing the real ground situation, staying rooted, with that, the commentatorial tradition is produced. So then Swami goes to Badrikashrama. There he notices that there's a Shalagrava Aradhana, but the Archaka Avatara Murti is missing. Then in his meditation, he realizes that the Murti is in the Narad Kund. So his Swami goes inside Narada Kund and recovers the Murti of Badri Narayana. Then he does Punar Pratishthapana there. Then he goes further north, and there is a cave called Vyasa Tirtha near the cave. It is in that cave, Maheshji, that Bhagavan Vyasa and Bhagavan Ganesha together produced Mahabharata. So in the same cave, our Acharya goes, sits there to write the Bhashyas for the Upanishad. Isha, Kena, Katha, Mundaka, Mandukya, Prashna, Aitreya, Taitriya, Chandogya, Brihadaranyaka, Dasha Upanishads. But in Sringeri and Kanchiti tradition, we also believe that he wrote commentaries for Nirsimha Tapani Upanishad and Shvetashvatara Upanishad. So 12 Upanishads we say. That is why Vidyaranya Muni in Anubhuti Prakasha has commented on all the 12 Upanishads. So because Acharya has done.
Vidyaranya Muni Swami is the Swami who did
founded Vijayanagar Empire.
Yes, and who did a great meditation of Gayatri Mata,
yes.
and
Several
Gayatri Mata was revealed. Also, he wrote books on mathematics also, right?
Yes. Very multifaceted Swami. Swami is multifaceted. And in Sringeri, he and Sayanacharya is that period, right? The period, great commentary period, 12th, 13th. Vijayanagar Empire was formed by his Kripa. Yeah, and Gayatri Mata Upasaka, Gayatri Mata Purasharana Swami has done several times there.
Like 24 crores he did, and then like he was just walking away, and then Gayatri Mata showed him, her presence, bless him.
Correct. So there are 10 Upanishad Bhashyam. Then we talked about Sutram, right? For Brahma Sutram, which is based on the Tattvam in the Upanishads. Bhagavan Vyasa, called Badarayana Muni, he has actually composed the sutras, which are about 555 sutras. They are like different in 4 adhyayas and all that, but it will become too technical, so I will not go there. I will say 555 sutras. He's written Bhashyam on that. Then on Bhagavad Gita also, Swami wrote Bhashyam. So when it comes to Bhagavad Gita, Swami actually uses a very, very interesting definition. He calls Bhagavad Gita, in Gita Bhashyam, Bhagavad Gita is called Samasta Vedartha Sara Sangraha Bhutam. And now I'm coming to the Pravritti Nivritti point, Maheshji. So he says Samasta Vedartha. He doesn't, so Bhagavad Gita is not just the essence of the Jnanakanda. It is the manual for both Jnanakanda and Karmakanda, which means Samasta Vedartha, Sara, essence, Sangraha, in a brief. Bhuta means it's filled with the essence of the old Veda. But he writes one more line after, one more word, Durvignyartham. It is very hard to understand, he says. Now, we will briefly talk about why this. So, since we are talking about Bhagavan as Bhagavan Bhashyakara, and I wanted to establish in the speech about Bhagavan Bhashyakara, I will take in the Upodgata Bhashyam, the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, what does Acharya say? I will read out a few lines from that. He starts the Gita Bhashyam with a slokam, Mangala Slokam. There he says, Narayana Paro Vyaktad Andam Avyakta Sambhavam Andastyantastvime Loke Swapta Deepacha Medini. This is like, I think it's from Padma Purana or somewhere Swami has taken this sloka. Narayana Paro Avyaktaha. He is beyond Avyaktaha. Avyaktaha is this Shakti, Maya, Mula Prakriti, with which he has created this whole world. So the whole world has come out of Swami's Maya, the Shakti, Avyakta
Beyond
Shakti.
any description. He is beyond any description.
Vyaktaha manifestation, Avyaktaha, you can't even describe it. Anirvachaniyaha. Andastyantastvime loke saptadvipacha. From that Hiranyagarbha, Andam, from Bhagavan Brahma has come all this creation, including Medini, Prithvi, and the Saptadvipa in it. See, this is very interesting, Maheshji. See, normally, if you look at, for example, Kathopanishad, you said you like Kathopanishad, right? Kathopanishad Bhashyam, when Swami starts, he gives a Mangala Shlokam with a stuti to Yamadharmaraja. He says, Om Namo Bhagavate Vaivasvataya Mrityave Brahma Vidya Acharya Nachiketasecha. See, there is a stuti to Brahma Vidya Acharya, who's Yamadharmaraja, right? But here, it is not a stuti, it is a tatvika nirvachanam. He is just explaining the tattvam. See, sometimes just remembering the truth itself is mangalam. Right? He doesn't say Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. He doesn't do it. Instead, he says it is Narayana. From Narayana, the entire. So, idea is he is saying that if everything has come out of Narayana, then this prapancham has no astitvam, no separate existence apart from Narayana. It is Narayana who is appearing as this Divya Prapancham with his Maya Shakti. So he's saying upfront what the Siddhantam is. And then he's going. Then he says, Sa Bhagavan Srishtvedam Jagat. He created this world, Bhagavan. Then for the state of protecting this world or maintaining this world, Tasya cha Stitim Chikirshuhu, Marichi Yadi Saptarishis have come out of him. Now, what are these Marichi Yadi Saptarishis have come out of for? Pravritti Lakshanam Dharmam Grahyamasya Vedoktam. So, like you're saying, Maheshji, all of life, according to Vaidika Vangmayam, is split into Pravritti Marga and Nivritti Marga. In Pravritti Marga, means Pravritti, as the name suggests, is to go outward. Nivritti is to withdraw. So, he says, when Bhagavan has become this Prapancham, he is also appearing. Is coming as, yes, is coming, all the Jivas are there. So, all the Jivas are naturally outward focused for various reasons. That Kathopanishad mantram is the Paranchi Kani Vyataranat Swayambhu Paran Pashyanti Na Pashyanti Antaratman. Because of manufacturing defect, everybody has become Bahirmukha, not Antarmukha. Like Lalita Sahasranama, Antarmukha Samaradhya, Bahirmukha Sudurlabha. So when you become inward focused, you recognize the Tattvam. When you become outward focused, you miss the point. So, but naturally people go outward. But to go outward means they can get lost. Then how do you help them? They will do karma because of kama, because of desire. But how will you protect them from the consequence? The karma has to become karma yoga, like you said, Maheshji. Right? So to give role models of karma yoga, Marichi Yadi Saptarishis were created.
And to add to that, Purusha Sukta's first stanza, Sahasra Shirisha Purushaha Sahasraksha Satrapata Sabumim Vishwato Vritva Atyatishta Dashangulam, means that consciousness, Sri, sees the whole thing, experiences through all the jivas in the universe, because he has manifested everything in those jivas.
Yes. Swami is Sarvajñaha in a totality sense, but also in and through all the jivas also. Swami is Sarvajñaha. Yes. That is why in Vishnu Sahasranama, Jivaha is also a nama for Bhagavan.
Nama for Bhagavan.
So then we talked about Pravritti Marga. For Nivritti Marga, there has to be role models. So Tato anyancha sanaka sanandanadi utpatya nivritti lakshanam dharmam jnana vairagya lakshanam grahyamasya. For the sake of grasping the principles of jnanam, vairagyam, vivekam, sadhana chatushtaya sampatti and all the wonderful things, role models in the form of Sanaka Sanandana, Sanat Kumara, Sanatana, Sanat Sujata Adi Munis, they came out of for Nivritti Marga. Then he says a very beautiful line, Dvidohi Vedokta Dharma. Vedika Dharma is only of two folds. Pravritti Lakshano, Nivritti Lakshanascha. Bhagatpada teaches us. When I first read this Maheshji, Gita Bhashyam, that time I had not read Mahabharata in all the shloka format. I read it in prose, I read it in sections like that. Then over years, I had the blessings of reading the entire Mahabharata under the inspiration of Swami Bhaskarananda ji, my Acharya. I realized that this line, Vividohi Vedokta Dharmo Acharya, Adi Shankaracharya says this line, right? But you see, in Bhagavan Vyasa, this is Bhagavan Vyasa's matam. This Pravritti, Nivritti Dharma, this discussion is replete in Mahabharata. It is there in Adi Parva, it is there in Shanti Parva and Anushasnika Parva. It is extremely replete. Now, Bhagavad Gita comes in Bhishma Parva. So, which means in the starting, in the middle, and in the end, everywhere, this Pravritti, Nivritti, this whole discussion is going on. So, we can see how much Bhagavad Pada has soaked himself in Mahabharata. Right? Otherwise, it's not, you cannot know what is Bhagavan Vyasa's Hridayam. See, there has to be that bhakti to that Guru to know what Guru's Hridayam is. Right? So that is, we can see Swami's Guru Bhakti or Sampradaya Bhakti. But then he says, okay, this is all very good. Pravarti, Nivrti. But why did Sri Krishna incarnate? Why did he have to come? So for that he says, Dirga Kalena Anushtatranam Kamodbhava Diyamana. He says for very, very long time, people became more persuaded by their pursuit of Artha and Kama more than Dharma. As a result of which, they Anushtana Bhangam started coming. People started not taking their spiritual life seriously, not following the Dharma and the ethics and everything, morality, everything correctly. So Viveka Jnanam and all started depreciating in the process. So then Adharmam Pravardhamanena, everybody started following Adharma Marga. Then he says, Jagata Sthiti Paripalayeshu, for the sake of doing Paripalanam of the entire world, Sa Adikarta Narayana, Vishnur Baumasya Brahmanatva Rakshanartham, for the sake of protecting Brahmanatvam, which means spirituality. For the
Not
sake
Brahmi,
of
not Brahmi, not the Brahmi.
Brahmanatvam, because
that.
without Brahmanatvam, where is Brahmana?
Brahma.
Right.
Without
So that is why
Brahmajnan, there
he's
is
going
no
to the
Brahma.
root. He's going to the root. The thing that makes a person Brahmana, let's say a Brahma Jignasu, or somebody who's a sadhaka, or somebody who's in the spiritual path, to protect that spiritual potency. Jagata Sthiti Paripalayeshu, Adikarta Narayana. See how he beautifully explains Bhagavan Narayana. So he was born Abhirakshanartham Devakyam Vasudevad Amshena Krishna Kila Asambhuva. So he came, boss to Devaki Amma and Vasudeva, he says. And then he says, who is this Bhagavan? This Bhagavan is Jnana, Aishwarya, Shakti, Bala, Virya, Tejobhihi, Sada Sampannaha. These Lakshanas, which are flashing here and there in a few people here and there, it is Sada Sampannaha in Bhagavan. Then he says, how did he come? Trigunatmikam, Vaishnavim Swam Mayam, Mula Prakritim Vashikrityaha. Using his Trigunatmika Maya Shakti, keeping it under his control. He who is Ajo, Avyayo, Bhutanam, Ishvaro, Nitya Shuddha, Nitya Buddha, Nitya Mukta Swabhavaha, who is eternally free, pure, unborn, uncreated, original source. He is born as it were. Mayayan Dehavan Iva Jataha. With his Maya, he has assumed a form. And he has come into this world. Why? Loka Anugraham Kuruvan Lakshyate. For the sake of protecting the world, Swami has come. Then the beauty is, okay, Bhagavan has come now. And we all know how Bhagavan gave the teachings to Arjuna, right? So that next he says, Bhagavata Dharmam Yadopadishtam. For the sake of teaching this Bhagavata Dharmaha, Vedavyasaha Sarvagnya Bhagavan. He calls Vedavyasa as Sarvagnya Bhagavan. Gita Akyahi Shaptabihi Shlokai Satai Upanipabandha. He has taken the teachings that Sri Krishna gave to Sri Arjuna and compressed them into 700 shlokas. He's tied them. Upanipa Bandha. He put them together and tied them. Tam idam Gita Shastram Samasta Vedartha Sara Sangraha Bhutam. We talked about this already. Then he also says Durvignyartham. It is hard to understand. So now see Maheshji, he is going to announce himself. Now we will know why he is Bhagavan Bhashyakara. Bhagavan Krishna gave teaching to Rishi Nara, who is Arjuna. This Bhagavan Vedavyasa has given us in 700 shlokas. Even though it is the quintessential essence of the entire Vedas, it can sometimes become difficult to understand. So, Vivekato Artha Nirdaranartham, for the sake of determining the meaning of the Shastram with Vivekam, which means Sampradaya Anukula Yukti, Sankshepataha Vivaranam Karishyami. I am writing exposition, he is saying it. See, normally we chant so many shlokas, right, from Ganesha Pancharatnam, Subramanya. It's very rare you will find Bhagavad Pada, the person, announcing himself. He's always hiding behind his bhakti, jnanam. He's not there. Whatever tattvam is
We say at the end
expressing,
of the only like it is Śrī Śaṅkara Bhagavad Pada, which
Vicharita. That and all Sampradaya has added. His Shishya Sampradaya would have added it. But here he says, for the sake of providing clarity in the correct way of understanding Bhagavad Gita, I am writing Artha Nirdaranam. Karishyami. So when Bhagavan Vyasa appeared, when Bhagavan Krishna appeared, then Bhagavan Bhashyakara also appeared. So that is the thing. That is how we have to see this, Bhagavan Bhashyakara. So you also, before we started, you were saying, right, Shankaram, Shankaracharyam, Keshavam, Badarayanam, Sutra Bhashya Krito Vande, Bhagavanto Punah Punah. And so there, Sutra Bhashyam. So then, now we have talked about this. Next comes the very big thing, which is Sutra Bhashyam. In Sutra Bhashyam, it's a very big topic, but I will just say one thing about Sutra Bhashyam. We talked about, for example, very briefly, we talked about how he started Kathopanishad Bhashyam, right, the Mangala Shlokam. Similarly, in Brihadaranyaka Bhashyam, if you see, he starts with the Mangala Shlokam, Om Brahmadibhyo, Brahma Vidya, Sampradaya Kartarabhyo, Vamsha Rishibhyo, Namah Gurubhyaha. So Brahmadibhyo, from Brahma, who is Adi Guru, who has come out of Narayana, the Vedanta Sampradaya has come, the entire Vedanta Sampradaya, I am doing Namaskaram. Okay, that is how he talks. And then, for example, in Taittiriya Upanishad also, when he starts with one slokam, Yasmad Jatam Jagat Sarvam Yasmin Yeva Praliyate Yene Idam Daryate Chaiva Tasmai Jnanatmane Namaha. I am saluting Namaha to the Jnanatman, from whom Jagat Sarvam Jataha has come out. Yasmin Praliyate, into him and the Prapancham goes back. To that Paratatvam, I am doing Namaskaram, he says. Then he says, in the second sloka, Yai ime gurubihi purvam padavakya pramanatah vyakyata sarva vedanta tan nityam pranatosmiham. I bow down pranata asmihi. Every day nityam. To the gurubihi, and sampradayam. To the sampradayam. Purva kalam nunchi vache sampradayam. That sampradayam that comes from the past. And who have interpreted sarva vedanta pada vakya pramanaha. With Vedanta, they have given us Pramāṇika Buddhi. To them I do Namaskaram, he says, in Taittiriya Upanishad starting. Then next shlokam he says, Taitriyaka Sarasya Maya Acharya Prasadatah. I am writing this Taittiriya Bhashyam as taught to me by my Guru. This is how he is reflecting. So he is giving all the credit to his Guru. Similarly, in Vivekachudamani, he says, Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. There Govinda is his Ishtadevam and Govinda is his Guru, Govinda Bhagavad Pada also. So this is how he starts all these Bhashyams, and he talks about how Nitya Karma gives you Chitta Shuddhi. With Chitta Shuddhi, we develop Vivekam, Vairagyam and everything. Then we do Vedanta Sravanam. All these things he discusses. But in Brahma Sutram, now coming to Brahma Sutram, he starts the whole thing without any Mangala Shlokam. He directly jumps into the topic.
Because of Brahma Sutra, you don't need any Mangal.
Yes, because Vedanta itself is Parama Mangalam. Right. See, in life, everybody is suffering. Like yesterday, I was doing Maranam on Gajendra Moksham, Maheshji. And then I was thinking, Gajendra got into the Sarovaram not knowing of the crocodile. And then Shukacharya in the slokam says, Gajendra got into the Sarovaram like innocent householders, grihasthas, get into samsaram. Which
Actually,
means,
that is very true. Like we came into samsaram like Gajendra did, like,
Yes.
Because I was talking to many people and, they do vratam and all. They say, if you break the fast, then you do that in the next birth, this and that. So I told them, if you don't want to get into the cycle of birth and rebirth, I have a very simple, small formula. So people say, Pandit ji, upar jaake baith ke karenge kya, better like get into the river, भगवान को बुला के वो हमें निकाल देंगे गजेंद्र की तरह. So that is also
correct. So I was thinking that we are all caught in this, and then when Gajendra is caught, when he's doing that slokam, there's one particular slokam where Gajendra says that I don't want you to save this body. It is not for the sake of saving this body I'm calling you. That avaranam that is covering my atma lokaha, my swarupaha, if you can remove that avaranam, that alone is enough for me. See that that is arti, that is uttama arti, right? So we get into the lake and we are praying to Bhagavan. Let's say I'm saying us, like ordinary people, we get into the lake, we pray to Bhagavan, protect me from this problem and that problem. The thing that we should really pray for is jnanam, bhakti, vairagyam, vivekam. That is why in Annapurna Ashtakam, when the starting Bhagavad Pada says Annapurne, Sadapurne, Śaṅkara Prana Vallabe, Jnana Vairagya Siddhyartham, Viksham Dehi Chabar. What should we ask for? See, if there is one thing by knowing which everything else becomes known, if there is one medicine, if we take because of which everything goes away. Pratamo Daivyo Bishak, right? Beshajam Bishak.
Ikavasya Upanishad is also talking about the same,
Yes.
Oh, fire, please remove the golden disc.
Yes.
That is Maya and show the Jnana.
Mukam. Yes. Reveal your truth to me.
Truth
Yes.
to me.
So, in some sense, why we went into this tangent with Gajendra and everything is, in samsara, dukkham is in every nook and corner. Then the question comes, what is the atyanta dukkha nivarti paramartha sukha prapti? That is the very definition of moksha in Advaita Sampradaya. Then what is that? That teaching which gives you that Pramāṇika Buddhi with which we can see the truth as revealed by the Upanishad Pratibhada Brahmam as Swarupam, that be itself, what can be more Mangalam than that? So that is why when Bhagavad Pada starts Brahma Sutra Bhashyam, without any hesitation, he directly starts the introduction with one very magnificent statement. I will read that statement today. Many scholars in consciousness studies and all that, even today they all say, oh, this statement is the essence of all the modern consciousness studies, they say. I'll read the line, Vakyam. Yusmat asmat pratyaya gocharayor Vishaya Vishayino Tama Prakashavat Viruddha Swabhavayor Itaretara Bhavo Anupapaddi Siddhaya. I'll explain it.
This talks about the same double slit theory experiment was done. It closely relates to that.
Yes, because it's observer and the observed thing, right?
Yes,
so Yusmat, you, Asmat, I. Swami says, I'm going to simplify it. You, that which can be characterized by the Shabdam you, is darkness. I'll explain. That which is characterized by the Shabdam Aham or I, Asmad, is light. What does he mean? He means in everybody. Mahesh, you are here, I am here. This is how we talk, right? You are there, I am here. What do we mean by that? It means we have Ekadeshiya Satta. We feel we exist here. So our sense of being is limited by how much ever the Indriyam reveals. But even for Indriyam to do its job, there is a light within, which is Atma Chaitanyam, which reveals everything else too. So I exist, I am, Aham, Aham Spurti, Aham Asmi. This bhavam is purely self-evident. I don't need any other pramana in life.
And that is lowercase I, not the uppercase I.
Yeah,
right?
no. Even for the lowercase I, which is a thought. You're right. Lowercase I is a thought. The uppercase I is a sakshi of the thought. So that sakshi, that chaitanyam, that sense of being, astitvam, asti matraha, that I don't need anybody else to, even if I don't have eyes, ears or anything, I know I am. Aham asmi, Brahma, aham asmi, in that correct Upanishad, Mahanarayana Upanishad says, right? So the idea is aham asmi is self-evident, swaprakashaha. But you there, Maheshji, you are a name and form for me. Your name and form, your behavior and all is symptomatically observed through Indriyam. But your sense of being, right, your sense of aham asmi, that I cannot capture. That is yours, this is I. That's how it feels like it, right? So anything that we are a sakshi of, that is yusmad. That I am as sakshi itself is asmad. So with this distinction, first he draws this distinction. This is normally called Atma Anatma Vivekam. He calls this distinction. So even the body is Yusmat Padartham only for me, because I can refer to this body as this. So my Swamiji used to say, my Acharya, Swami Bhaskarananda used to say, the owner and the object owned cannot be the same. Right? I own my car, I am not my car. Right? But what happens? Bhagavad Pada here says, Tama Prakashavat Viruddha Swabhavayor Itaretara Bhavav Anupapati. But out of ignorance, the Lakshana of the Yusmad, we superimpose on the Asmad. The Lakshana of the body, I put it on my, if the body, something happens to the body, I say, oh, I am not feeling well. If something happens to the mind, I say, I am angry. Right? If Mahesh, if you ask me, who are you? I will say, I am Ishwar. If I become angry, I will say, I am angry. The name Ishwar is also forgotten. Right? So this aropanam takes place. This mutual aropanam. This mutual superimposition. This superimposition, which is English word, the Samskrita padam, which Bhagavad Pada uses, is adhyasa. So out of ajnana, we have a tendency to superimpose things to fill in the blanks. See, whenever anger comes, and we have seen this dhyayato vishayan pumstam, sangaste upajayate, sanga sanjayate kamaha, kama krodo abhijayate, krodat bhavati sammudaha, sammuda smriti vibramaha, smriti vibrad buddhinasho, buddhinasho pranashyati. In those 62nd, 63rd slokas, there's a beautiful psychological downward spiral is actually described by Sri Krishna. There you see krodam. When krodam comes, what happens to people is moham comes. They can't see things as they really are. Then what do? They superimpose some ideas out of anger. But what Bhagavad Pada says, what Vedam says is, even in normal times also, there is some superimposition is happening in this world. I think I am the body. I think I am this. I am this kind of identification is confusing us and preventing us from recognizing the truth of our infinite nature, because of which we are not able to escape suffering. So the whole purpose of Vedanta is to de-superimpose, remove the adhyasam. And to remove the adhyasam, Vedanta Saravanam Karya. That is why we do Vedanta Saravanam. So this is how he starts Brahma Sutra Bhashyam. And another thing about Bhagavad Pada's Bhashyam in general, I want to say, I want to like ram down Maheshji now, is that very, very high level, I want to say that people should study the Bhashyam under the good tradition, good teacher, somebody who is whose heart is connected with the Guru Sampradaya. And in the process, they will discover many things which are very, very beautiful. First thing about Bhagavad Pada is there are no cobwebs in Bhagavad Pada's descriptions. Like Tarka Shuddhi. Beautiful. Tarka. And Tarkam is also very, very simple. The other thing about Bhagavad Pada's Tarkam is it has a lot of empathy. Right? Nowadays, we all talk about emotional intelligence. Right? Emotional intelligence is basically what is emotional. Emotional intelligence is the ability to be philosophically and psychologically savvy at the same time. So you should have the clarity of a philosopher, but you should have the ability to understand why, emotionally speaking, why people say what they say. To understand people, feel for them, and then guide them, that is the sign of an Acharya. And that we can see in Bhashyam. So whenever he is in debate with people he disagrees with, that itself is a work of art. To see the Samvadam of Bhagavad Pada with his Purva Paksha and his Bhashya, you will see, normally when we disagree with somebody, we always try to win the argument more than winning the person, right? But in Bhagavad Pada's case, he is winning the person through argument. So which means his emotional intelligence is so high, he understands how to disagree. He also knows where the disagreement is, and then he removes the knot. So Mahakarunyam. I sometimes used to think like, what is Bhagavad Pada's Karunyam? Because we always say, right, Maheji, in English there is a saying, you give a man fish or teach him how to fish or something like that, right? So give somebody food and or how to earn food and all that. But one step above that is teaching him some vidya, because of which he learns how to earn and all that. But among all the vidya, Brahma Vidya, Sarva Vidya Pratishtitam. So that Brahma Vidya, Bhashanam, Swami is giving us, Anugraha Bhashanam, through his Bhashyam, Stotram, Prakarana Grantham. Then how much more Karanyam that is? Because it allows us to free ourselves from suffering in its entirety, in totality. It gives us Shraddhā. It puts our Ishwara Bhakti in a very, very safe space. And as civilization, now I'm going back all the way to the starting of our conversation, what is happening in Kashmir. We as a civilization, if we stay connected to our roots, with Tarka Shuddhi, with empathy, with clarity, all our policies, all our execution, everything will be filled with strength and vitality. So doing like Sri Ramanuja Jayanti, Sri Śaṅkara Jayanti, Sri Madhvacharya Jayanti, Vallabhacharya Jayanti, all these acharyas in Vedanta Sampradaya, doing Jayantis, all these Mahatmas, and staying true to our respective traditions, it actually gives us immense strength and vitality. And our civilization can face any number of difficulties so long as we are rooted in the tradition, right? And it is for this reason we have to think of Bhagavad Pada as Bhagavan Bhashyakara. Bhagavan Stotrakara, we all know Maheshji, all Stotras from Bhaja Govindam, this and that we take. And even if you take his Stotram also, this Vedanta Tattvam is seen as Stotram. If you take Govinda Ashtakam, he says Satya Jnananantam, that's how he starts. Then if you go to Dakshinamurti Stotram, we call it Stotram, but it is like a Prakarana Grantham. It is like Vivekachudamani. Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nija Antargatam. This world is like a reflection on the mirror. In truly speaking, it is within yourself only. See, even there, Stuti is to Parameshwara as Dakshinamurti, but Stuti involves Brahma Vidya Upadesham. Right? And then Vivekachudamani, we don't have to ask. It's such a lucid language. Swami has explained everything.
Very beautiful.
And
Actually,
then,
for all those viewers who are really interested in learning Vivekachudamani, there is a very good book written by Swami Prabhavananda and Chris Isherwood on Vivekachudamani. It's available on all stores.
Amazon.
If not, you can go to Amazon. Okay, this
Correct.
is not sponsored by Amazon, but the English name of the book is The Crazy.
Or we can go to all the Vedanta centers, Ramakrishna Math,
or
because
Vedanta
they have
Ramakrishna Matham. They have this book, and it's a really good book. The Crazy Jewel of Discrimination by it's aka Vivekachudamani by Swami Prabhavananda and Chris Isherwood. Very good language. Among all the Vivekachudamani translations I have seen, this is a very good book. Even better written, even any other translation, even better than Hindi. I have found out that language is very, very good.
Yes. Swami Prabhavananda was exceptional, and Christopher Isherwood was also a man of words. Very good writer. So he is very good. There are many books, Maheshji, I will recommend. In Ramakrishna Math, this is there. Swami Turiyananda ji, Swami Madhavananda ji, they have also, Swami Turiyananda ji, direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. So he has also translated. So that is also very beautiful. Bharati Vidya Bhavan has published the English translation of the Sanskrit commentary on Vivekachudamani. The Sanskrit commentary was written by Sri Chandrasekhara Bharati Mahaswami from Sringeri. So that Jivan Mukta Purusha, that Maha Acharya Varya has given that Samskrita Bhashyam. So that has been translated in English. That is also something I will highly recommend, because Bhashyams and Vivekachudamani are rare, right?
Yes.
So that is there. And also other thing is for example, in Swami Chinmayananda has given lectures, which is also transcribed. Swami Dayananda Saraswati ji's lectures are also transcribed. Swami Ranganathananda from Ramakrishna Math.
Are you talking about Swami Dayanand Saraswati of Arya Samaj or Dayanand Saraswati of
Arshavidya?
Arshavidya Gurukul. So,
Swami Chinmayananda's disciple.
Okay, so Swami Dayanand Saraswati of Arshavidya Gurukul.
Correct.
I just want to make sure, because people don't go off tangent,
Yes. So again, those are all wonderful opportunities. Then one thing I wanted to say slightly in a very reverential note, but it may sound like humor also. Bhagavad Pada has written Ekashloki. Then he has done something like Sadhana Panchakam, which is like 5. Then Dashashloki, we know, is the thing that he told his Guru Govinda Baba. Then he has done Shatashloki, which is 100. Then he has done Upadesha Sahasri. So what I was trying to say is, from 1, 5, 10, 100,000 in all denominations of spiritual currency, Swami has unveiled Vedanta, Pravaham, in the form of his Prakarana Grantham. The thing about the Prakarana Grantham is, for whomever Swami wrote Shlokam, for the same audience only Swami has written Prakarana Grantham. So if some people get intimidated, saying, oh, how will I read Bhashyam? It will be very complicated and all. They don't have to. They can go to Vivekachudamani and they will be fine. And another thing is, the best way to do any Vedanta Sarvanam is to learn it from somebody who has been initiated into the Vedanta Sampradaya. In that way, we will not get divergent meanings. We will take Sampradaya Anukula meaning.
Proper Guru Parampara. And you can say Asmat Acharya Parentam Vande Guru
Vande
Parampara.
Guru Parampara. Yes, correct. For the yes, Mahesh, for the sake of at least for the sake of chanting the sloka, we should go to.
That's why you should have a Guru Parampara. Internet is not always your true guru. But you can listen to the various gurus on internet, but whomever you say, you have to establish them. But the proper parampara is always good, lineage following through.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. So again, so Mahesh, at a very high level, I think we have had some sufficient mananam of Adi Shankara Bhagatpada. And again, I think if we as a civilization have to face the challenges of attacks or challenges in whatever form, we have to stay connected to our roots. And our roots are not just means important. Our cultural roots are important, but at the heart of the culture is the Guru Sampradaya. And the Guru Sampradaya, how will we know? Only through their Stotram, Prakarana Grantham, Bhashyam, like that. So whatever be our Sampradaya, whether we are from Sri Ramanuja Sampradaya, Sri Shankara Sampradaya, Sri Madhva Sampradaya, Vallabhacharya Sampradaya, whatever be the Vedanta Sampradaya, we should go there. And also, if you think about modern times, because of internet and lot of facilities are there, people should take advantage of this. They should go to Vedanta Center. For people in Seattle, I recommend Vedanta Center in Seattle is there.
Actually, or there are Vedanta centers everywhere in United States. You can just and if you just pick up a phone and talk to Swamis, you know that even if you live far off, they will be glad to help you out. And I had my personal experience way long back with Acharya.
Yes. And Swami, right now in Seattle Center, there is also Swami Satyamayanandaji, who's the Swamiji, who's the President Swamiji for the Matam. And he's a great Mahakarunika, great Vidwan. So again, great opportunity for people to go there. And also if they're from Chinmaya Mission, Swami Dayananda's Arshavidya Sampradaya, and there are a lot of satsangas like Ramana Maharshi Satsanga, Satyasai Baba Satsanga, Shirdi Baba Satsanga. People should never miss an opportunity to be part of some satsanga. And often, Maheshji, we often get the questions, right? How do I take my child and make him interested? Best way is for the parents to go to satsanga. Then the child will automatically come there.
I get this question a lot of times. Sometimes I get a question, oh, my child is too much into satsanga and going to be ascetic. How do I prevent him to come into the mainstream? So it seems
it's a very rare problem.
Ajnana is a mainstream. So I have to tell them, your child's stars are really good. Yes. He will get to moksha. Maybe you should be proud of him.
Correct. See, that's true actually. See, the times are like that. If somebody sits in front of Netflix for a very long time, the parents are not worried. But if somebody is reading Bhagavad Gita for 1 hour, they get worried actually. So we have to be, like we said, Shyam Krishna's famous quote is there. When he was asked about why is he not paying attention to arithmetic and everything, then Sri Ramakrishna says, I don't want bread-winning education. I want soul-enriching education. The one that gives me Nitya Tripta, Nitya Shuddha, Nitya Buddha, Nitya Mukta Swarupaha, Ishwaropi San, right? That Parameshwara Swarupam, if you don't, all this reading, studying, jobs is all for what? Pursuit of happiness and contentment. But if that pursuit of happiness and contentment is guaranteed in the spiritual path and is not at all guaranteed in the material path. But I'm not saying material path is bad, but we need material path. That is why in Bhagavad Gita also we saw, Maheshji, that Pravritti Marga is important. But Pravritti Marga will lead to Nivritti Marga or Dukkha Nivritti only if it is done as Karma Yoga. And the basis of Karma Yoga.
Continuous Adhyayana, continuous Abhyasa.
Adhyayana is important. Abhyasam, Vairagya. Again, those samskaras will come only from the Adhisthana Grantham, which is Upanishad, which is Brahma Vidya, which is Vedam, which is the Rishi Vachanam, right? And again, it is not just in Sanskritam, right? In Tamil, in Hindi, in Telugu, also Mahapanditas have come, Jnanis have come. The same Brahma Vidya has flowed in every language. So long as we stay connected to our mother tongue and our traditional, and this access is there. See, nowadays people pay thousands of dollars to learn some technique for meditation. But if we do a Nitya Naimitika Karma properly also, all those techniques will come to us. Right? So a lot of things are there. But again, all of this we are able to say today because we are all sitting under that huge vriksham called Adi Shankara Bhagatpada. So sitting under the Acharya's shade.
So people, you do not have to spend thousands of dollars to get the knowledge. Just go into the proper lineage of your Guru Parampara and you will get the knowledge. With that, I would like to thank you, Ishwar Prabhu, for blessing us, for joining us. Dhanyavad. I know we had a lot of chat in the past and we will continue to have a chat in future also. I would like to invite you are already our regular contributor to our channel, so thank you. Please like, comment, share and subscribe. And again, I would like to thank you for joining today. So thank you. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Thank you.
Mahesh, you are doing a great Jnana Yajna, so thank you to you. Seeking your
Yes, see,
blessings as always.
all we want is, the goal is, I'm a hardcore believer of the fact that we are all part of the same consciousness. We are not different. I'm ardent follower of Kathopanishad and Brihadaranya Upanishad and all the Upanishad, including Bhagavad Gita. My favorite chapter in entire Bhagavad Gita is chapter 2.
Chapter 2, yes.
So I strongly believe that, and it's not that I believe in Anishwarvad. I think there is no difference between Ishwar and Vad and Anishwarvad. It's all same, just what perspective you are looking at it. If you are at higher, like 50,000 feet up there, then it's all same, because if you are in a plane, when you look down, everything looks like same. But when you fly, when the plane about to land, you see the buildings and all. But from up high, there is no difference, right? So like people like on moon, they saw the earth, it's just the earth, right? They were not at the low level, right? So that's what I want to people to know, spiritually elevate, to know that, tune into that proper frequency, because that we have to tune our mind to that frequency. Like we have a radio, everybody has a radio in their home, right? So that means that radio can catch many stations at any point of time. But you are tuning your brain, mind, your radio to that particular station that you like, which is you want to enjoy the life. But if you tune to some different station, to meditation, Guru Parampara, you will go through the moksha. That's what I want to do.
Correct. Yes. The Sampradaya is very, very important. And following the Sampradaya, then like Ramana Maharishi says, we'll finish with that small thing. Ramana Maharishi says that we carry our luggage only till we board the train. Once we board the train, we won't be carrying the luggage on the head, thinking, "Oh, you pop on train." It'll be like we don't. You'll put the train, which means you Sampradaya is like a train. Sri Ramakrishna Matam is like my train. Vedanta Society of Western Washington is my train. So once we are there in the Sannidhyam, the Acharya, and the Guru Sampradaya, right? See, Śaṅkara Sampradaya in Sri Ramakrishna is initiated into Śaṅkara Sampradaya in Totapuri was his Guru. So in the Puri Sampradaya, right? So once we go in, similarly, in I am a big devotee of Sri Ramanuja Sampradaya also. I've read Sri Bhashyam, Mahapurva Paksha Nirasa, and all that. I've studied Vedanta Sangraha and all that, and I have great admiration and devotion to Swami Desik and everything. And I can easily see that the same Surya is shining everywhere. But it is shining according to the samskaras of the people who get subscribed to the samskara, to that sampradaya. It happens. That's a prakriti. It's a part of nature. This variety will be there. But the beauty is they all insist on Pramāṇika Buddhi. They all insist on developing the Śraddhā.
Think about the quantum physics, the observer.
Yes.
If you are, depending on the observer, you get different results, right? So it's all about the observer. So you have to become a good observer. Like, there is a river flowing, remember, you're not
and it has to be guided. And it has to be guided. And the guidance comes from the Guru Sampradaya.
Yes, and that guidance comes from the Guru Parampara. With that, I would like to thank you. Thank you for joining, and please keep coming to. This is your channel, so I do not have to tell you that we all started this thing together. So So thank you, Ishwarji, for coming, and please like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you have any question on Adhyatmik, about any on Vedanta, on Dvaita or Advaita, please write, and Ishwar and I and other scholars will try to guide you in proper manner, try to answer like who we are to guide. We all get guidance from our gurus, but through the Guru Parampara, we can try to answer your questions. And thank you. Dhanyavad. Radhe Radhe. Pranam.
Radhe Radhe. Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.